Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. This is Brandon.
And this is Jared.
And welcome to our Year in Review 2013 video. Now, here at Fanboys Forever, we don't like to dwell on the negative. We're not going to go out of our way to buy things that we can clearly tell we're not going to like. But sometimes, toys are so glaringly inadequate that they draw our attention just sitting on the shelf. And I bought a few of these to be objective and to be able to attest from first-hand experience, we both did, that the very worst toy line of 2013 is, in our estimation, Iron Man 3 by Hasbro.
It's terrible. Iron Man 3 as a toy line represents everything that's wrong with the industry this year. Let's go over that laundry list of complaints. There's cheaply made, cheaply painted action figures with 5 points of articulation, sold for an unreasonable price.
Yes. If these had been about $3, I could almost understand it. You know, they're like discount chain figures. They need to be at the Dollar General store. They need to be at Big Lots instead of at Walmart or Target. These are $6 a piece. Especially the early figures were repaints of pack-in figures for the vehicles from previous lines. You know, like the pack-in Mark 7 from the Avengers from the Quinjet, or the pack-in Mark 6 from the Iron Man 2 stuff, like the tank vehicle or the jet. You know, no excuse for them to be able to reuse these toys that were already inadequate, that were giveaways with, you know, larger scale items, and to ask any kind of retail price for them was ridiculous.
You know, this is made even worse by the fact that Iron Man 2 probably had one of the very finest, quality control problems aside, one of the very finest displays of varied and detailed and interesting 3 3/4 figures that's been released ever for a movie. It was insane how good the figures were for Iron Man 2, and so many people complained about those and thought they were no good. And I just wonder how much crow those people were eating when these Iron Man 3 figures came out, and they were awful. They were basically paying like $1 less or $2 less for these garbage
quarter
figures.
Of the figure of the toy that you would really
The only thing redeeming about the Iron Man 3 line was that in a completely separate line, there was the Iron Man Legends, and they did that Mark 42 and the Iron Patriot, which are really nice figures, and they're back here on display.
And I don't consider those part of the Iron Man 3. Those are part of the Marvel Legends line, you know, as far as I'm concerned. Just like the movie tie-ins coming up for next year.
And I'll tell you, some people may consider this a salvation or a saving grace for the Iron Man 3 line. Then there was one last final insult from Hasbro, where they made us buy this Hall of Armor set with all the Iron Man Mark 1 through 7 in it, and they were just re-releases of the old Iron Man 2 figures with some like arc reactor paint on them, and it was the only way to get a properly articulated Mark 42, which should have been all over the place, and Tony Stark figure, which they never did really release. And he was just G.I. Joe.
Renegade's Duke with, and much like Iron Man 2, Nick Fury was Beachhead that Nick Fury had. So continues the tradition. Maybe for Iron Man 4, we'll get a Retaliation figure with an Iron Man head on it.
Well, I was glad to see this plan kind of backfire on them, because that set's pretty well clearance down everywhere now. It's like $30 everywhere online. But it was just a really shabby way to treat collectors, you know, and say, well, here's, you know, these 2 figures you may have wanted. Also, we somehow forgot to put an Iron Patriot in there, you know, with it. We know you could have used him with the same articulation scheme as the Mark 42 to go with your Iron Man 2 figures, but we just decided we'd give you this.
Heather's like, I hope you bought that old Kmart 3-pack with the Captain America Armor Iron Man in it. That's as good as you're going to get. But, you know, they see, on top of the limited articulation figures, they did these iron assemblers, which were fairly well sculpted 3 3/4 figures. I'll give them that. But they're gimmick figures. They pull apart like the Incredible Crash Dummies by Tyco from back in the 90s. You take them apart, you reassemble them. Not articulated. They have one additional articulation feature. Their arms will raise and lower. But they've got the same articulation otherwise as the basic figures. The only thing is the gimmick. And they're $10 a piece. $10. For the same price you can get one of Playmate's Ninja Turtles. Excellent Ninja Turtles figures just down the toy aisle. You know, it's, you know, in a perfect world, those would have been $6, and the 5 points for articulation figures would have been $3. And they wouldn't seem as bad. They would be bad, objectively, but it would make them a little bit more palatable. So, Hasbro, for this disservice to a character that deserves such an excellent toy line, we are giving you the boot for the year.
Absolutely. Hasbro proved that not only were they the worst when it comes to toy line, Iron Man 3 was clearly the worst toy line, but they dropped the ball on so many other things this year. They absolutely screwed over G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
They hurt G.I. Joe so badly this year by releasing at a time when fans were really actually wanting product based on the film, whereas with Rise of Cobra nobody wanted it, but it was everywhere. The first wave of product was awful. They never gave us a movie-accurate Cobra Commander. The list goes on and on and on and on. They gave us that overpriced Toys R Us exclusive Jurassic Park line with those really nice G.I. Joe kit bashes in it, but want us to pay these absorbent prices just to get them.
We go back to Retaliation. The main villain in the film is really Zartan, and where's the Zartan?
There's no Zartan. There's
a renegade Zartan figure that's a holdover from an old line, but there's no President Zartan.
There wasn't a true playset for G.I. Joe this year in a movie year.
There weren't really any good vehicles. We got the new. Helicopter. It's the Tomahawk originally. They called it. I can't remember.
The Eagle Hawk.
Eagle Hawk's what they call it. Yeah. Good vehicle, but it wasn't really part of the movie line. It was difficult to get. They didn't carry it in any major retailers.
Except for Toys R Us.
Toys R Us had it. But we live an hour and a half away from Toys R Us, so that doesn't do us any good. So we got to order it.
And then there's the matter of Marvel Legends. They let the Marvel Legends brand fall apart with bad character selection and kind of overpriced for what you get, and now they're having to retool that. Been a bad year for Hasbro. I expect next year to be better for Hasbro.
I think so, and it's looking much better. Like I said before, they kind of dropped the ball on Star Wars. Black Series is cool, but it's nothing I'm interested in.
And it's overpriced.
I've not, except for old product on the shelf or vintage product, I've not bought any Star Wars figures this year.
That's right.
I've not bought any new Star Wars stuff since the switchover, so I hate that.
My little nephew, he's very, very young right now, and he loves Star Wars so much. And for Christmas, his mom, my brother, everybody that bought him Star Wars stuff bought older stuff.
Yeah.
They bought stuff from 99 to 2006.
Went to a comic book shop to get Power of the Force stuff and older
such
product.
a better deal to buy that old stuff for what you got. It was so much better. That's a shame. They let Star Wars implode last year.
Yeah.
Hurt the brand this year. Hasbro's really dropped the ball.